Buffalo hit by a car causing major traffic disruption. Cathay Pacific to delay restarting flights to the Middle East until the end of April. An Israeli strike killed 2 senior Iranian leaders. Good evening and thank you for joining us. A buffalo struck by a private car on Qinglong Highway snarled morning traffic today. An animal concern group reminds that cattle are highly sensitive to sound and drivers should avoid honking when encountering them on roads to prevent panic. The moment of the collision captured in dashcam footage. At around 7 a.m., a private car was driving along the Kowloon-bound fast lane of Qinglong Highway when a buffalo bolted out from nearby bushes near Kamsheng Road MTR station. Unable to brake in time, the car struck the animal. The driver was unscathed and immediately reported the incident to police. The driver says there was a lot of blood on the buffalo. It was quite frightening, really unfortunate. The injured buffalo later wandered around the highway with blood staining its horns and back. Its front left hoof appeared injured, leaving it struggling to move. It then limped towards the middle line. Traffic police intervened, halting vehicles on the fast lane and closing all 3 lanes temporarily. Officers attempted to restrain the buffalo with ropes, but it struggled and returned to the center of the road. After several attempts, officers guided the buffalo back to the side of the road. Officers from the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department and the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals arrived to assist. The buffalo was later tranquilized and lifted onto a truck. The incident had snarled traffic on the Kowloon-bound carriageway of Qinglong Highway, with traffic only returning to normal after all lanes reopened at around 10 a.m. According to government data, Hong Kong is home to more than 1,000 feral cattle. Authorities say the animals are generally not dangerous if left undisturbed, advising the public to keep a safe distance. In October 2024, a buffalo was struck by a taxi on Saisha Road in Ma'anshan and eventually died of serious injuries. According to the road traffic ordinance, drivers who hit any of the 9 specified animals, including cattle, sheep, cats and dogs, must stop and call the police. Failure to do so may result in a fine of $10,000 and 12-month imprisonment. In the past, Hong Kong relied on cattle for agricultural work, but as traditional farming waned, many animals were abandoned and turned feral. A 2022 survey by the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department found over 1,000 stray cattle in Hong Kong. Herds roam places like villages in Sai Kung. Volunteers from a cattle concern group note that the animals are especially active in spring, wandering across grasslands in search of food. They say cattle graze in multiple places, so it's inevitable they will cross roads. The group said sudden horn sounds and honking can startle the cattle, causing them to run unpredictably. Cathay Pacific Airways has extended suspension of its passenger and cargo flights to Dubai and Riyadh until April 30th. Passengers affected can rebook or request refunds. Some travel agencies say the impact is limited, as they seldom choose CX for their trips to the Middle East. In response to the volatile situation in the Middle East, Cathay Pacific Airways says it will extend suspension of its passenger and cargo flights to Dubai and Riyadh until April 30th, 1 month longer than originally planned. The city's flagship carrier says affected passengers can rebook, change destinations, or seek refunds through special ticketing arrangements. And it will closely monitor the development of the situation, with the safety of customers and crew as the top priority. Flight schedules may need to be further adjusted in the short term. A Hong Kong travel agency says the impact is limited as few of them choose CX for Middle East routes. Hyun Kwok Chun, director of a local travel agency, says most travelers use Middle Eastern carriers rather than Cathay, which operates only single-point flights to the region. Transit flights via Cathay do not cover these routes. In Hyun's agency, about 300 travelers book trips to Dubai or connecting flights through the Middle East during the Easter period. His agency has been reaching out to other airlines to seek clarity in the latest flight arrangements before mid-April. As a result of fluctuation in oil prices due to the Iran war, 4 airlines have raised fuel surcharges effective as of today, except for trips to the mainland. Under the new arrangements, Hong Kong Airlines' fuel surcharge for short-haul routes from Hong Kong to places like Japan and South Korea will increase to $290. For long-haul routes to North America and Europe, the surcharge will increase to $1,164. Meanwhile, Cathay Pacific's previously announced fuel surcharge hike takes effect today, with short-haul routes increasing to $290 and long-haul routes to $1,164. Hong Kong Express's fuel surcharge will increase to $290. Greater Bay Area Airlines has increased its fuel surcharge to $290. Again, there are no extra surcharges for flights to the mainland. Israel has fired a salvo of airstrikes towards residential buildings in Beirut in the early hours of Wednesday, expanding its military presence into the heart of the Lebanese capital. Meanwhile, the United Nations raised concerns about the offensive's worsening toll on civilians across the country. Danny Zhou has the report.
Israel struck the floors of a residential apartment block in Beirut's densely populated Zakak el-Blat district at about 1:30 a.m. At least 2 floors of a building were tore through by another blast in Basta district nearby. No warnings were issued prior to the 2 overnight attacks, in which 6 people were killed and 24 others injured. Israeli forces also targeted a 3rd building in the city's Bachura neighborhood at around 5:30 a.m., claiming in a statement that they intended to act against what they described as a Hezbollah facility. Video footage showed the structure of the multi-story building collapsing as day broke. Media reports say it had been targeted several times recently, but this time it's completely demolished and razed to the ground. Israel has launched deadly attacks in Hezbollah's stronghold in eastern and southern Lebanon since the war broke out. 4 died from an airstrike in the eastern city of Baalbek, and 10 individuals were killed by the Israelis in 3 different locations in the south, according to Lebanon's state news agency. The resurgence of Israel's attacks against Lebanon's residential buildings, displaced people and healthcare workers prompted the United Nations Human Rights Office to raise concerns under international law. Spokesperson Tamim El-Kitan told reporters in Geneva that international law is very clear that deliberately attacking civilians or civilian object amounts to war crime.
Israeli airstrikes have destroyed hundreds of homes and civilian infrastructure, including healthcare facilities. Statements by Israeli officials threatening to impose the same level of destruction on Lebanon as inflicted in Gaza are wholly unacceptable. Such rhetoric, coupled with the Israeli military's announcement that it will deploy additional forces and expand its ground incursion, intensify deep fear and anxiety among the Lebanese population.
Danny Zhou, TVB News.
China's special envoy to the Middle East, Zhai Juan, continued his efforts to press for a peaceful resolution of the war in Iran. Zhai on Tuesday visited Cairo, where he held separate meetings with Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdulhadi and Secretary General of the League of Arab States Ahmed Abu Ghait. Zhai said during the talks that the spread of the war would incur greater losses and impact regional economy and global energy security, adding the top priority is to reach a ceasefire. China is willing to join hands with Egypt to play a constructive role in mediating tensions in the region, Zhai said, as he showed empathy towards Gulf states affected by the conflict. For his part, Abdulhadi said the escalation is not in line with the interests of any party, and Iran must halt its hostilities towards neighboring countries. Conveying deep concerns about the changing situation in the Middle East, Ghait appreciated Beijing's position to call for peace and negotiations. U.S. President Donald Trump said he's delaying a diplomatic trip to China and that he would be visiting the country in 5 or 6 weeks' time, instead of at the end of March, as the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran consumes most of his focus. The scheduled visit is meant to focus on a range of trade issues, including tariffs and rare earths.
We're speaking to China. I'd love to, but because of the war, I want to be here. I have to be here, I feel. And so we've requested that we delay it a month or so, and I'm looking forward to being with them. We have a very good relationship, but because of the war, there's no tricks to it either. China, they were fine with it. We're going to say, I look forward to seeing President Xi. China actually has become economically for us very good, as you know. It's much different than it was in the past.
Previously, Trump signaled his visit could depend on whether China would make commitments to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which remains closed to almost all global shipping. But officials in Beijing and Washington have clarified that postponing the trip has nothing to do with the strait. During a regular press briefing, a spokesman for the Foreign Ministry pledged to maintain communication with Washington regarding Trump's China visit, stressing head of state diplomacy plays an irreplaceable strategic leading role in Sino-U.S. relations. And still ahead, U.S. counterterrorism chief quits over Washington's involvement in the Iran war. Cuba's power gradually returning after days of nationwide blackout. And Central sees a very special flower market. Welcome back. U.S. Director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, announced his resignation on Tuesday, citing his concerns about the justification for military strikes in Iran. But President Donald Trump said Kent was weak on security. Trump further stated that if someone in his administration did not believe Iran was a threat, we don't want those people. A year ago, when Kent was nominated, Trump praised him as a man who had hunted down terrorists and criminals his entire adult life. Kent said that he cannot in good conscience back the administration's war. He said Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for joint efforts in building up anti-drone defenses amid the war in Iran. In a speech to members of the British Parliament, Zelensky said any potential partnership with countries in the Middle East could track attacks from Iran or from the Houthis in real time, analyze them, and keep improving their defense. Zelensky met earlier with Starmer for talks at 10 Downing Street. The meeting came days after the U.S. temporarily waived some Russian oil sanctions in a bid to ease pressure on global supplies triggered by the war in the Middle East. Energy officials said Cuba has reconnected its power grid and brought its largest oil-fired power plant online, putting an end to a nationwide blackout that lasted more than 29 hours. This amid a U.S. move to choke off the island's fuel supply. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is of Cuban heritage, said the island's current government is incapable of addressing its problems. Daniel Rao reports.
After the country's 10 million people had been plunged into darkness overnight, Cuba's national power grid came fully back online. However, officials said power shortages may continue because not enough electricity was being generated. Cuba has yet to say what caused the nationwide grid failure, the first such collapse since the US cut off the island's oil supply from Venezuela and threatened to slap tariffs on countries that ship fuel to the nation. Most Cubans, including those in the capital Havana, were seeing 16 or more hours of blackout daily even before the latest grid collapse. Cuba and the US have opened talks aimed at defusing the crisis, among the most acute since 1959, when Fidel Castro forced Washington's ally Fulgencio Batista from power. Neither side has provided details of the ongoing negotiations, although US President Donald Trump has portrayed Cuba as desperate to make a deal. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is of Cuban heritage, said the island's current government is incapable of addressing its problems. He called for new people in charge of Cuba.
The bottom line is their economy doesn't work. It's a non-functional economy. It's an economy that has survived. That revolution, it's not even a revolution, that thing they have, has survived on subsidies from the Soviet Union and now from Venezuela. They don't get subsidies anymore, so they're in a lot of trouble. And the people in charge, they don't know how to fix it. So they have to get new people in charge. That's what happened.
General TV News.
The Global Talent Summit Week kicks off at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center today. Chief Executive John Lee said the government will refine its talent policies in line with national development strategies to attract global professionals to Hong Kong. Samantha Lee has more.
Speaking at the opening ceremony of the Global Talent Summit Week, Chief Executive John Lee said as of the end of last month, more than 410,000 applications had been approved across various talent admission schemes, and more than 270,000 people had already arrived in Hong Kong.
Even as global competition for talent intensifies, our objective should not be outcompete one another. Rather, our goal must be to expand opportunities through cooperation. We will continue to uphold openness, deepen international engagement, and align closely with our national development strategies. We will further refine our policies in education, innovation, and infrastructure.
In his speech, Yu Jiadong, Vice Minister of Human Resources and Social Security, stressed the need to enhance policies to facilitate the movement of talent between the mainland and Hong Kong.
香港拥有背靠祖国。
He said the central government attaches great importance to Hong Kong's role in building an international talent hub and acting as a national gateway for talent. The Secretary for Labor and Welfare, Chris Soon, said the Middle Eastern conflict has increased Hong Kong's appeal to high-caliber talent. Soon added that the government will continue to collaborate with other Greater Bay Area cities to venture to Southeast Asia and Europe to scout for more talent. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
A series of major art events are set to kick off in late March, with the large-scale immersive art installation Flower Market opening its doors to the public for free in Central starting tomorrow. A legislator said while the number of visitors in March might not be as high as the previous 2 months, the potential economic benefits could exceed that of the previous 2 months. Celine Chan with more.
This special flower market just bloomed into life right next to the Hong Kong observation wheel in Central. This splash of vibrant colors is made up of over 150,000 plush flowers that seem almost genuine. The immersive installation called Flower Market has previously traveled to New York and Abu Dhabi and is now making its Asian debut. Its curators said locals in the city are very forthcoming to new ideas and artistic concepts and hopes the exhibition can bring a sense of joy to all visitors.
They've been very welcoming to some of my crazy ideas. I feel very grateful for that opportunity. And yeah, I think we will continue to do lots of projects in Hong Kong because everyone's so excited to be here. And
the Flower Market will officially open its doors on Thursday. Organizers made the event available to the public for free, hoping to make art more inclusive and popular. A special group of guests were invited for a preview. 160 kindergarten kids and some senior citizens were among the first to step inside.
Today is a very special day because it's the birthday of my late father-in-law, Dr. Li Shaoqi, and he loved giving. He loved sharing with just general community, and we wanted to carry his spirit and to share his love to the public. So today, the first section, we had a bunch of audience from different NGOs, different charities, kindergarten, elderly homes.
Around 30 plush flower designs will be showcased this time, and 2 of them are exclusive to Hong Kong. That includes this little one I'm holding, our city's emblem, the Bauhinia flower. Traditionally, major art events like Art Central and Art Basel are held during Art March. Hong Kong recorded 9.95 million visitors in the first 2 months of the year, which is an 18% increase compared with the same period last year. Legislator Perry Yu believes the momentum in tourism will continue. While he predicted that the city would see fewer visitors as compared to that of January and February, he believed that, in terms of quality, the proportion of mid to high-end travelers would rise. With more visitors from Europe and Australia set to visit Hong Kong for the art events, the possible economic benefits they bring could rise even more. Celine Chan, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.